Well, what happens to our parents can make a huge impression on our lives, creating all kinds of emotions, leading to us making decisions that are going to shape us for a lifetime. Our next guest tells her story in her new book. Take a look at the cover. Theo Boyd is a speaker, a teacher, and a farm girl, and the author of My Grief Is Not Like Yours. Let's welcome her into Midday this afternoon. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Dee.
It's a pleasure. I'm going to start with this review from a Grammy Award winner that read your book, and here's what the person said. It says, Theo is so honest with us that sometimes I almost didn't want her to be because the details were so unimaginable. However, without each descriptive picture that she paints, the story wouldn't be genuine. That is so gut-wrenching. What is it about the book that you feel led her to feel that way?
When I first started writing the book in 2019 after my mom's accident, I realized that I needed to write the book that I couldn't seem to get my hands on. There's some great books out there, but there weren't a lot of books for traumatic loss. And so I had to write a book that hit me as hard as I'd been hit.
I just read some snippets. I mean, there were things that happened in your family, it happened in your life that they did seem unimaginable. An accidental death, a suicide, a child who was born, I think, without speech or hearing. Tell us a little bit about what made this book a book about surviving grief.
You know, it started out as just a grief book over one grief, and that was my mom's accident on the farm. My parents were peanut farmers. I'm coming to you live today from North Central Texas, and my parents had a peanut farm, and my dad had, I got a call that my dad had accidentally run over my mother with one of the farm tractors. And they were almost going to be celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. And rather than planning for that, we turned and had to start planning a funeral. And I started journaling to try to, help myself and heal. And then as the months went on, additional griefs started to come around. So I always say my mom was about the first domino to fall. And a few months later, my counselor died. A few months after that, my husband left me for another woman. And then last year on Father's Day, I went to check on my dad. And it had been 3 years, mind you, since my mom's accident. But on Father's Day morning, I found that my dad had taken his life. So through all those griefs, I always tell people there's two things you can do in grief. You can sink into it, and that's okay for a time. But you can also take it and help other people that are going through or that may be going through something similar to what you went through. But in that, you've got to remember, we all live, we die, we grieve, but my grief is not like yours. And if you'll give me a second, Dee, I'll explain that title.
Yes, do that.
I did not write the book with the intention that people would get the book and read about my grief. I wrote the book with the intention that when people got the book, they could own that title for themselves. During the course of all my griefs, especially early on, I was hearing other people tell me, well-intentioned friends and family, telling me about how they lost someone and here's what they did and here's what their grief looked like. And the whole time, all that kept playing over and over in my head is, my grief is not like yours. And I thought, if I'm feeling this way, then there's got to be millions of people feeling unvalidated and unheard. And so that's why I want people to get the book. After each chapter, there's questions for them where they can journal in and write about their own grief. And I want people to own that title for themselves.
Wow, we've got about 30 seconds. Can you tell me shortly, was there a time where you were angry with your father? It was an accident, but were you ever angry with him and had to release that anger?
I never was. He had lost the love of a lifetime, his best friend, his farm help. He had lost that soulmate. And I didn't have the luxury of silencing my grief with blame. And I was able to journal and try to help him. And hopefully my journaling and healing is now going to help other people.
Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much. I think it'll help
Thank
a
you.
lot of people.